Welcome, dear subscribers and curious listeners of my channel. The world of wizarding schools is far broader than the famous halls of Hogwarts. Scattered across the globe are secretive magical academies where young witches and wizards learn the arts of spells, potions, and ancient rituals. One such school is the mysterious Durmstrang Institute, a participant in the Triwizard Tournament and the subject of countless rumors. Even the most devoted Harry Potter fans often don't realize just how many fascinating details this academy hides. Today we'll explore some of its most remarkable secrets. Enjoy the video. Number 1. Exact location unknown. While most magical schools conceal themselves from Muggle eyes but are known by region, Durmstrang opts for complete secrecy. Only its students and staff know the precise location. It's believed to lie somewhere in northern Europe, in icy lands surrounded by mountains and lakes. This harsh landscape reinforces the school's aura of isolation and mystery that has shrouded it for centuries. Number 2. Medieval origins. Durmstrang's history stretches deep into the past. Unlike Hogwarts, which was founded by 4 wizards, this school was established by a single, powerful Bulgarian witch, Nerida Volchanova. She became its first headmistress and set the educational philosophy that endures to this day. Since then, the institute has been led by a long line of headmasters and headmistresses, each adding their own influence to its teaching traditions. Number 3. Grindelwald's alma mater. It's hard to separate Durmstrang's reputation from its most notorious former student, Gellert Grindelwald. This dark wizard became one of the most dangerous figures in magical history and nearly sparked a global revolution. His obsession with forbidden knowledge ultimately led to his expulsion, but the roots of that interest were laid here, where studying the dark arts wasn't considered shameful. Number 4. Girls study at Durmstrang. Many fans remember the Goblet of Fire film depicting Durmstrang as an all-boys school. That was simply a cinematic simplification. From its earliest days, the institute has welcomed students of any gender. After all, it was founded by a woman, and there's never been any tradition of gender discrimination. Number 5. The institute welcomes students from around the world. One of Durmstrang's defining traits is that it doesn't limit admissions to any single country. Whereas Hogwarts is home to British and Scottish witches and wizards, and Beauxbaton to the French, Durmstrang invites students from everywhere. This is thanks in part to its unique reputation as one of the few schools that officially teaches the dark arts as part of its curriculum. Number 6. Durmstrang does not accept Muggle-born students. Its broad geographic recruitment contrasts sharply with another far stricter policy. The institute does not admit Muggle-born students. This stance echoes the philosophy of Grindelwald and Voldemort, who valued pure-blood wizards above all others. It stands in sharp contrast to Hogwarts, which has always welcomed any child with magical ability, regardless of parentage. Number 7. Malfoy nearly went to Durmstrang. Few people know that Draco Malfoy, Harry Potter's longtime rival, nearly attended Durmstrang. Lucius Malfoy was convinced it was the perfect place for his son to study the dark arts under the guidance of Igor Karkaroff, a former Death Eater. However, Narcissa Malfoy couldn't bear the thought of Draco studying so far from home and insisted he remain in Britain. Number 8. Durmstrang's special transport. The ship of Durmstrang is a legend in its own right. When it rose from the depths of the Hogwarts lake, water streaming from the black hull, even Dumbledore looked impressed. In the Goblet of Fire, Krum said, "For travel where the water calls us." No other transport in the wizarding world moves as it does. Unlike the Hogwarts Express, bound to tracks and timetables, the ship slips through rivers and seas as if the oceans themselves open paths for it. Nerida Volchanova enchanted the keel with runes of passage. Old tales claim she carved them with her wand, tipped in obsidian. The magic allows the vessel to vanish beneath the ice of the northern fjords and reappear 1,000 miles away in a heartbeat. Inside, the ship feels older than the castle. The wooden beams whisper in storms, Lanterns burn with cold blue flames that never fade. When Marta Drakov sailed on it for the first time, she wrote to her father, "The ship has a soul. You can feel it watching you. Even the crew speak little. They have served Durmstrang for centuries, sworn never to reveal the secrets of the hidden waterways." Students stand on the deck as the prow breaks the surface. They wear their red cloaks tight against the spray. No matter how many times they cross, the moment always feels like stepping between worlds. The ship is more than transport. It is a promise that Durmstrang will always arrive, unannounced, a silent power gliding beneath the waves. Number 9, Forbidden Books in the Library. In the north wing of Durmstrang lies a library few dare to enter. The forbidden archive is hidden behind an iron door carved with runes of warning. Only Headmaster Karkaroff and the High Librarian, Galina Morozova, carry the keys. The shelves groan under the weight of tomes bound in dragon hide and sealed with wax sigils. One of the oldest is The Sorrow of 10 Kings, a book said to contain curses that could wipe out entire bloodlines. Students are told early that no curiosity is worth the price of foolishness. In the Chronicles of Durmstrang, Krum once said, "In Hogwarts they fear the dark. Here we study it, but we respect it." That respect is the only thing keeping many alive. Even the most talented 7th years must earn permission to touch a single volume. Before receiving access, they are required to duel an instructor to prove their control. In 1974, Pavel Orlov became the youngest student ever granted entry. He was 16. He chose to read the Ashen Lexicon, a slim black book that whispered when opened. The night after he studied it, his hair turned white. When asked why, he only said, "It showed me what it cost." No one pressed him further. The archive is not just a collection, it is a test. A student who stands in its shadows must decide if they are ready to carry knowledge that cannot be unlearned. Those who fail to understand this truth often leave the school before the year ends, their minds scarred by secrets too heavy to bear. Number 10. Strange Traditions and Rituals. Every December, the students of Durmstrang gather on the shore of the frozen lake. They call it the Night of the Icy Flame. In silence, each one lights a blue fire in their cupped palms. The flame does not burn. It feels as cold as the snow around them. Victor Krum described it in the Chronicles of Durmstrang. It is a light that shows you what you fear most. They stand in a ring, watching the flames flicker, believing this ritual will clear their minds for the trials ahead. When the last fire dies, the youngest students return to the castle. The older ones stay to whisper vows into the darkness. Some promise to protect their house. Others swear never to betray their comrades. That night, a hush covers the school like a shroud. Even the professors remain indoors, letting the lake keep its secrets. Another tradition waits for those who wish to graduate with honor. It is called the Solitude Trial. Each 7th year must spend a full night alone in the northern forest. They carry no wands, only a single rune carved into bone. If danger comes, they must rely on their knowledge and courage. In 1987, a student named Marta Drakov survived a blizzard by enchanting the snow itself to form a shelter. Her tale is still told as proof of Durmstrang's harsh lessons. Those who fail the Solitude Trial are not punished, but they are marked by it. When dawn breaks and the survivors return, their eyes are different. They have faced the cold without protection. They have learned what it means to stand alone. Number 11. School Uniform with Deep Meaning. The crimson robes of Durmstrang are more than a uniform. They are a declaration. Thick fur collars shield students from the freezing gales that sweep across the northern peaks. But the color itself is a lesson. Red stands for power earned through hardship. In the Chronicles of Durmstrang, Professor Elvira Markov wrote, "A student in grey is a novice. A student in red has chosen the path of mastery." Every robe bears the embroidered double-headed eagle. One claw grips a wand, the other a scepter. The wand means knowledge, the scepter means authority. Together they whisper a promise. Durmstrang trains those who will command. When Victor Krum walked into the great hall of Hogwarts, his robe seemed to shimmer in the torchlight. Even the Slytherins fell silent. It was a garment woven to remind others of their place. Older students earn the right to add silver braid along the hem. It marks them as dual champions or scholars of the highest rank. Anya Volkov once received her silver braid after defeating 3 opponents in the winter duel. Her victory was so decisive that Igor Karkaroff called her the Iron Heart of Durmstrang. The uniform does more than clothe the body. It shapes the mind. Each stitch carries an unspoken challenge. Prove you are worthy. Prove you have the discipline to bear the eagle on your shoulders. And if you fail, the red will feel heavier than any chain. Number 12. Secret tunnels and catacombs. Beneath the cold stones of Durmstrang lies a labyrinth older than the castle itself. Nerida Volchanova carved those tunnels with her own spells. She believed secrets should be buried where only the worthy could find them. Some passages run beneath the frozen lake. Others twist so deep that no map dares mark them. In Hogwarts, a history of rival schools, Victor Krum confessed, "We do not go below the 4th level. Even our headmaster would not risk it." Legends claim that in the lowest catacombs stands the altar of the Red Star. Students say it was built for rites that blurred the line between magic and sacrifice. Once, 2 curious apprentices, Anya Volkov and Leonid Draken, sneaked past the warded gates. They were found at dawn, half mad and unable to speak. On Anya's wrist, a spiral-shaped burn glowed for weeks before it finally faded. Professors warn that the catacombs do not forgive trespass. Headmistress Zorovich told her students, "If you think darkness lives only in your books, go down there. It will teach you otherwise." Her voice echoed through the great hall like a curse. No one dared laugh. No one ever does when the tunnels are mentioned. Still, every year, someone tries a dare, a bet, or a reckless search for hidden power. Most return pale and shaken. A few do not return at all. And when the wind howls through the stone, the elders say you can hear voices calling from under the earth, begging to be let out. Number 13. Mysterious Death of a Headmistress. Isolde von Grünwald was once the pride of Durmstrang. She ruled the school with strict fairness and a razor-sharp mind. In the winter of 1843, she vanished from her office without a trace. All they found was her oak desk, scorched with a sigil no one could decipher. Victor Krum later told Harry in The Goblet of Fire, "We have rooms we don't enter. We remember why." His words hinted at old terror. Rumours spread fast. Some whispered it was revenge. A student named Anton Petrov had been expelled for summoning shades in the catacombs. He swore he'd return to claim her life. Days before Isolde vanished, a guard claimed to see Anton's shadow slip across the frozen courtyard, though no one believed him at the time. The memory haunts staff who still patrol the ramparts at night. Others believed Isolde's own hunger for knowledge doomed her. She was known to conduct private studies in blood magic and ancient curses. An old caretaker remembered seeing jars of black salt and dried hearts on her shelves. He told a young professor years later, "She went too deep. Some doors don't close once opened." The sealed office still carries that fear like a cold draught. Today her room remains locked by 10 different wards. Even headmasters refuse to break them. During stormy nights, some students claim they see light flicker under the door. They say if you press your ear to the iron keyhole, you'll hear her voice chanting in a language that should never be spoken. And so Durmstrang keeps the door shut, a silent warning carved into its history. Number 14, Special Graduation Exam. Durmstrang's curriculum is not for the faint of heart. While Hogwarts students learn simple shield charms and disarming spells, Durmstrang apprentices spend hours mastering the subjugation hex, a dark enchantment that can force an opponent to obey your will. Victor Crumb once admitted in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, "At Durmstrang they do not hide from powerful magic, we respect it." His words reveal how deeply the school embraces subjects others call forbidden. The study of necromancy defense is perhaps the most unsettling. Under the cold gaze of Professor Raquel Zorovich, students learn to detect traces of death magic and break bonds between a necromancer and their summoned revenants. One lesson describes how an advanced student named Henrik Malkoff was able to sever the spectral chain that bound a corpse to its master. He nearly collapsed from exhaustion, but the class applauded him as an example of what discipline could achieve. Durmstrang also teaches the fundamentals of blood magic, a subject most wizarding schools ban outright. In a dim stone chamber, students are shown the ways blood can amplify spells or seal ancient pacts. Yet even here, teachers constantly warn about the costs. Headmaster Igor Karkaroff told a gathering of fifth years, "Blood is power, but it is also a curse. Touch it lightly, or it will consume you." His voice was sharp as a blade. Despite their fearsome reputation, these classes are not designed to breed cruelty. The professors insist every spell must be weighed with caution and respect. If a student dares to misuse what they've learned, the punishment is swift. Durmstrang believes darkness cannot be denied, but it must be mastered. Number 15. Duel clubs. In Durmstrang, dueling is not an extracurricular hobby. It is the heartbeat of the school. Every student, from first year to seventh, must train in the art of magical combat. No excuses, no exemptions. The belief is simple. A wizard who cannot stand in a duel is not worthy to call themselves Durmstrang's own. Lessons begin in the first month. The youngest students learn to deflect basic hexes. They practice until their arms shake from holding a wand steady. Victor Crumb once wrote, "We learned not to flinch. Pain is only a teacher." His words are carved above the entrance to the dueling hall. The hall itself is a stone chamber with runes etched into every wall. These marks absorb stray spells so no magic escapes. Some say the runes also remember each duel ever fought. On quiet nights, students claim the stones whisper names in the dark. Every winter, the duel tournament begins. The entire school gathers to watch. Matches are decided by skill, not rank. A first year can challenge a seventh year if they dare. Marta Drakov did just that when she was 13. She faced Eric Volkov in front of the whole assembly. Though she lost, she stood her ground until the final blow. That defiance earned her more respect than any victory. Winners of the tournament receive the silver braid. It is sewn into their cloak, marking them as champions. More valuable still is the reward no tailor can give, the mentorship of a master. For 1 year, the victor trains in advanced techniques kept secret from the rest of the school. Anya Volkov won the tournament at 16. Her prize was a year under headmistress Zorovich herself. She learned spells of silent casting and counters for curses older than Hogwarts. When she returned to the practice floor, her classmates stepped aside without a word. Outside the tournament, dueling practice is a daily ritual. At dawn, pairs line up in the frost-covered yard. They salute with their wands before unleashing volleys of spells. Some return to breakfast limping, robes scorched. No one complains. Every bruise is proof that they are learning. Even the professors duel each other once a year. It is called the exhibition match. Students watch in awe as spells arc across the hall like lightning. Karkaroff once said, "We show them that mastery never stops." The duel always ends with a bow. In Durmstrang, respect is given only to those who have earned it. If a student refuses a formal challenge without cause, it is seen as cowardice. Their name is read aloud in the Great Hall. They are not punished, but everyone remembers. In a place where strength is duty, to be called coward is worse than any detention. No matter how harsh the tradition seems, most graduates agree it shaped them. When they leave Durmstrang, they know one truth: the only way to stand unshaken is to stand prepared. Number 16. Strict discipline rules. Durmstrang's halls echo with order. Strength is honoured, but discipline rules. Every student knows the code. Break it and you pay. There are no quiet detentions or gentle lectures. Punishment here is swift, public, and designed to burn the lesson into your bones. If a student is caught sneaking into the forbidden library without permission, they don't just lose house points. They are marched into the Great Hall. Their offence is read aloud. Galina Morozova herself demands the explanation. The entire school listens in silence, no matter how cold the words become. Stealing is unforgivable. In 1982, Erich Volkov tried to smuggle a frost rune from the headmistress's private collection. He was found before he crossed the courtyard. The next day, Zorovich held a wand duel with him in front of every student. He fell hard. He limped for weeks. He never stole again. Some infractions earn immediate expulsion. Trying to break into the catacombs is one. The tunnels below are off-limits for a reason. In the Chronicles of Durmstrang, Victor Krum described seeing 2 empty beds in the dormitory the morning after a failed break-in. They left and we never spoke their names again. Students are warned from day one. Artifacts are not toys. These objects are old and hungry for misuse, and touching them without leave is like inviting disaster. Anya Volkov once watched a boy pick up a cursed amulet. It burned his palm black. He was sent home that afternoon. No apology offered. None accepted. Discipline is also enforced through duels with teachers. It is not meant to humiliate. It is meant to teach. Professor Raquel Zorovich believes shame is a tool. She once said, "A wizard who forgets his limits must be reminded. When a student is challenged, they must accept. Refusing is considered cowardice. These duels are harsh but fair. The student must stand in the dueling circle, wand raised, heart pounding. No one is killed, but bruises are common. Broken bones happen. Pain is the final argument." Marta Drakov described her own duel with Zorovich. "I did not win, but I did not run. That was enough. It's time to why." Cheating is another line that cannot be crossed. Spell tampering in exams is checked with anti-cheating wards. Those caught are forced to repeat the year. They wear a grey sash at meals, so everyone knows. No one forgets the humiliation. That grey is heavier than iron. Even friendships cannot shield you. Victor Krum once helped a friend hide after he broke curfew. When caught, both of them were made to scrub the dueling hall with enchanted brushes that bit their hands. Krum wrote, "I learned loyalty is not license." The staff hold themselves to the same code. Once, Professor Henning misused a spell in class and injured a student. He suspended himself from teaching for a month. He faced the headmistress in a duel. He lost. When he returned, no one doubted he had paid his price. There is no appeal, no secret forgiveness. Durmstrang believes that if you cannot accept the consequences of your actions, you do not belong. This is their pride and their warning to the world. Every student who survives learns to weigh their choices with care. The harshness forges something real. Karkaroff once said, "Discipline is what separates the sorcerer from the monster." The lesson is not cruelty, it is survival. Magic has no conscience, so the wizard must. It is easy to see why some hate the school's rules. Parents complain, ministry officials grumble, but the headmistress only shrugs. She has said, "We do not train children, we make witches and wizards." And when you see a Durmstrang graduate stand unflinching before danger, you understand they did not learn caution from fear, they learned it from consequence. In those cold halls, they were taught that power without discipline is simply destruction waiting to happen. Number 17, famous alumni. Durmstrang has never apologized for the wizards it has shaped. Gellert Grindelwald was the most infamous, but he was not the only one. The halls remember every student who walked their length, whether they became a hero or a threat. Anastasia Yaguzhinskaya is a name spoken with respect. She left Durmstrang to become the greatest artificer of her century. Her enchanted shields turned entire wars. In the Chronicles of Durmstrang, Victor Krum wrote, "Her work made curses bounce like stones on ice. No one has ever broken her runes." Caspar Blum trained here too. He rose to lead the Department of Mysteries in the Scandinavian Ministry. They say he still wears his red Durmstrang cloak under his official robes. When asked why, he once said, "Because it taught me that knowledge without risk is only half the truth." Not all graduates chose power. Eleonora Voss became a healer. She created potions that could purge the lingering venom of basilisk bites. In the infirmary, she was known as the Red Witch, a tribute to her school colours. Others walked darker roads. Soren Drevik vanished into the catacombs of Iceland and returned with spells no one had seen in 500 years. Some called him visionary, others called him mad. Durmstrang claims him all the same. Even in sports, the school left its mark. Victor Krum, the youngest seeker in a century, carried Durmstrang's discipline onto every pitch. He often said, "Quidditch is not so different from a duel." He proved it every time he dove into the air. Anya Volkov became a dueling champion, the first witch to hold the silver braid 3 years in a row. Her name is carved into the dueling hall's north pillar. New students trace the letters with their fingertips before matches. Ragnar Eldfell became a master of counter-curses. His work ended a plague of blood hexes that had spread through northern villages. When he returned to Durmstrang to lecture, he told the students, "If you cannot unmake darkness, you are not worthy to wield it." Even those who failed to achieve fame carried their training into quiet lives. Thomas Jurgensen became an auror, known for never drawing his wand unless absolutely necessary. Colleagues said he kept a fragment of his Durmstrang cloak in his coat pocket for courage. Some graduates still send letters back to the headmistress. They write of their work and their triumphs. Galina Morozova keeps everyone. She reads them aloud on the first night of term to remind the young ones why they are here. Failure is never hidden. The school recites the names of those who fell into disgrace or vanished in pursuit of forbidden knowledge. Their stories are lessons. In Durmstrang, every choice leaves a mark that can't be scrubbed away. When the banners are raised in the Great Hall, the crests of famous alumni hang side by side. No difference is made between the ones who changed the world for good or ill. What matters is that they had the courage to claim their path. At graduation, each student passes beneath those banners. They look up and wonder which legacy they will join. Some feel pride, others feel dread. All understand the weight of the history that surrounds them. Durmstrang does not promise a gentle destiny. It promises the tools to forge one. And when a student leaves its walls, the red cloak on their shoulders is proof that they have faced themselves and chosen to walk forward. Number 18, reputation in the international community. Durmstrang has never cared for the approval of the world beyond its gates. That alone makes it both respected and feared. At every international confederation gathering, their delegation stands apart, red cloaks bright against the sea of sober ministry robes. No one forgets who they are. Some call Durmstrang a relic, a fortress that clings to the past, exalting duels and old bloodlines. Madame Olympe Maxime of Beaubaton once described the school as a monument to the arrogance of conquest. Her words were printed in the European Wizarding Journal. They caused a month of arguments in the halls. Others admire Durmstrang's refusal to pretend. They do not hide the reality that magic can corrupt as easily as it can heal. When Caspar Blum spoke at the Copenhagen Symposium, he said, "We do not teach children they are safe. We teach them they must be strong." Some applauded. Some called it barbaric. At the Triwizard Tournament, the arrival of the Durmstrang ship was as much a statement as a spectacle. It rose from the lake like an omen. Minerva McGonagall was heard to mutter, always the dramatics with them, but even she could not deny their discipline. Many British wizards distrust Durmstrang for its reputation with dark arts. They whisper that every graduate leaves with curses coiled in their pockets. Victor Crumb fought this suspicion all his career. He once told the Daily Prophet, "Learning does not mean embracing." He meant it, but the fear lingered. Among Scandinavian magical communities, opinions are split. The northern clans respect Durmstrang as the only place where their harsh traditions endure. The city witches of Stockholm call it the ice prison, a place where ambition burns too bright. In Bulgaria, the school is a point of fierce pride. Parents there speak of Durmstrang in the same breath as the old epics. To send a child to its halls is to declare they will not be ordinary. Some ministry officials have proposed banning Durmstrang graduates from certain positions, citing concerns about loyalty and ethics. So far, none of these efforts have succeeded. The argument always ends the same way. No one can deny the competence of a Durmstrang-trained witch or wizard. When Ragnar Eldfell testified before the Wizengamot, he wore his old cloak. He said, "Judge me by what I have done, not where I learned." His voice was quiet but unshaken. Even his fiercest critics could find no flaw in his record. Galina Morozova rarely travels, but when she does, she speaks plainly. At a Paris conference on magical education, she told the assembly, "You call us cruel because we do not lie to our students. We tell them the price of power." There was no applause, but no one interrupted her again. Durmstrang's alumni networks stretch into every corner of Europe. They are doctors, auras, inventors, and sometimes outlaws. Each carries a piece of the school's legend. No matter what they achieve, their training is never forgotten. In the hidden markets of Eastern Europe, it is said that a curse-breaker trained at Durmstrang can do work no other dares attempt. This reputation is not always fair, but it has roots in truth. The curriculum embraces shadows most schools pretend are not there. At Hogwarts, the staff teach that love is the greatest magic. At Durmstrang, the lesson is simpler. Knowledge is dangerous, courage is mandatory, sentiment is optional. These differences breed conflict. When delegations meet, they argue over ethics until the candles burn low. One headmistress called the debates "duels in velvet gloves." Yet none ever walk away unchanged. Some younger witches and wizards are drawn to Durmstrang's blunt philosophy. They claim it is more honest, more real. Even in Britain, a few parents quietly inquire about the ship that comes to fetch new students every autumn. Yet fear is never far behind fascination. In the magical times, an editorial warned, "We must never forget that Durmstrang forged Grindelwald." But in the next breath, it admitted it also forged those who defeated him. Every generation reconsiders what the school means, a threat, a promise, or simply a reminder that power always demands a price. Durmstrang does not explain itself. It does not ask forgiveness. It only stands cold and unyielding at the edge of the world. Those who enter know exactly why they came. Those who watch from afar can only wonder if they would have survived its lessons. Number 19. Special graduation exams. Graduation at Durmstrang is not a ceremony of polite applause. It is a trial by fire and frost. Every 7th year knows this from the first day they arrive. No one is handed a diploma for simply surviving the classes. They have to prove they can survive anything. Written exams come first. Runes, curses, defense theory. Galina Morozova personally marks every paper. She uses green ink for errors, black for dishonesty. It is said her notes cut deeper than any hex. Oral examinations follow. A student stands alone before a panel of 3 instructors. They must explain the counter-hex to a blood-binding curse or recite from memory the 20 forbidden sigils of necromancy. One mistake, and they start over. No prompting, no mercy, but these are only the gates. The true test is the combat trial. The great hall is cleared of tables and chairs. Runes flare to life on the floor. Professors stand around the perimeter, silent as statues. In the center waits the student. The trial is no duel, it is survival. The examiners summon illusions that feel painfully real. Dark creatures with claws of ice, cursed chains that writhe like serpents, walls that close in with deadly precision. Each trap is designed to break the student's calm. Victor Krum described his trial in the Chronicles of Durmstrang. I fought a troll of ice that did not bleed. I heard it scream my name in my own voice. He said the worst part was knowing it wasn't real, but feeling the terror anyway. If a student cannot master their fear and their spells, the trial ends. They are escorted from the hall in silence. There is no second attempt. Those who fail may return the next year if the staff allows it. Some leave and never come back. Erich Volkov once boasted he would breeze through the trial. He had beaten every opponent in the duel tournament, but when the black vines wrapped around his legs and whispered secrets in his ear, he froze. He dropped his wand. That was enough. The trial ended. He returned the next year, quieter, humbler. When he passed on his second try, he refused to speak of what he saw the first time. His friends noticed he never laughed as loudly again. Those who pass are marked for life. Anya Volkov completed her trial in under 5 minutes. She summoned a wall of blue flame so hot it cracked the floor. Galina Morozova simply nodded and said, "Acceptable." Praise is rare at Durmstrang. The examiners are not cruel for the sake of cruelty. They know the world does not care if you are unprepared. Durmstrang's lands are harsh, its lessons harsher. A wizard who cannot hold their nerve in the trial will not hold it when their life depends on it. Some parents call it barbaric. They beg the school to change. Galina always answers the same way. If you want safety, send them elsewhere, but train them to live. The trial has old roots. Nerida Volchanova designed the first version herself. She believed that a wizard who feared pain would abuse power. Pain must be understood, faced, and controlled. The staff often remind students that the trial is not just magic, it is judgment. They watch for cruelty as much as weakness. A student who uses a killing curse, even in simulation, fails immediately. Failure is not disgrace if you learn from it. Refusing to try is. Those who refuse the trial are expelled. The school does not keep cowards. Even spectators feel the weight of the moment. The hall is cold. Torches burn with blue fire. The silence is deep enough to hear every breath. Each trial is a private reckoning made painfully public. At the end, those who pass stand before the assembled school. They wear their red cloaks open, the eagle crest shining. They hold their wands aloft. The staff bow. It is the only time students see Galina Morozova smile. That moment is the true diploma. It cannot be faked or bought. It is earned. And for the rest of their lives, they know they did not run. They stood, and they won. Number 20, magical artifacts of the school. Durmstrang's Hall of Relics is hidden behind a door sealed with 7 locks. Only Galina Morozova and the 3 senior professors carry the keys. Inside, the air feels older than the walls. The torches never flicker. The silence is absolute. At the center stands the Volcanova staff. It is carved from the heartwood of a frost oak and capped with a sphere of black crystal. Legend says Nerida Volchanova herself shaped it in the first year of the school. When she died, she willed that it choose its bearer. No headmaster has ever dared touch it without invitation. Once every decade, the staff awakens. It hums with power and the crystal glows. In 1924, it chose Ivan Zoryan, a student whose family had served Durmstrang for generations. He carried it into battle during the Baltic skirmishes. They say no curse touched him while it rested in his hands. Beside the staff rests the Chalice of Echoes, a shallow silver bowl etched with runes of amplification. Any spell cast while holding it doubles in strength, but it also magnifies intention. If a wizard's purpose is impure, the chalice will shatter their magic against them. Victor Krum once said in the Chronicles of Durmstrang, "The chalice tests your heart before it tests your skill." He had seen a classmate nearly lose her voice forever when she tried to bend it to her pride. Near the back wall lies the runestone of Thren, a slab of volcanic glass veined with sigils that crawl when you look away. No one has ever read them all. Some say they are living words, bound by oaths older than Durmstrang itself. In 1961, Professor Arvid Carlton dared to translate one line. For 3 days he spoke in tongues no one could name. When he recovered, he refused to touch the stone again. On the east plinth stands the Mirror of Silence. Unlike its Hogwarts cousin, this mirror does not show desire. Instead, it reflects the one truth a witch or wizard most fears. The last student to look into it fell to her knees and wept. Her name was Eleonora Voss. She never told anyone what she saw. The hall also keeps smaller relics. The scales of Gorlin, which weigh not gold but the cost of a spell. The shroud of Veil, a cloak that conceals the wearer from all detection, but steals a year of their life each time it is used, and the frost bell, a silver chime that can freeze a single moment in time for the space of one heartbeat. Each artifact is catalogued in the black ledger. Galena updates it in ink, distilled from Nightshade. She believes no record should fade. When a student is granted permission to study a relic, their name is etched alongside its description. That mark never comes off. To request access is an act of courage or arrogance. No one can predict which it will become. Marta Drakov once spent a month studying the scales of Gorlin. When she emerged, she walked straighter, but her hair had turned white at the temples. The staff say the relics are not trophies. They are lessons in humility. Even the headmistress approaches them with respect. She has told every class, "These objects have seen more centuries than you will ever count. They owe you nothing." Some believe the Volcanova staff still holds a fragment of its creator's spirit. On winter nights, the crystal glows without cause, a cold light, like distant stars under ice. Students are forbidden to enter the hall without escort. Yet once each year, the 7th years are brought inside and told to choose one artifact to study. Not to use, only to understand. In that quiet room, many realize for the first time how small their ambitions are, and how much larger the world can be. When they leave, the doors close with a sound like final judgment. It is said you can feel the echo in your bones long after. Durmstrang does not display these relics as trophies. They are the school's oldest teachers, and their lessons are never gentle. Number 21. Unique research subjects. Durmstrang has always believed that understanding danger is the only way to survive it. Nowhere is this clearer than in the school's program of magical creature studies. While Hogwarts catalogues tame species, Durmstrang hunts legends. Every winter, a small expedition sets out into the northern passes. Their quarry is the ice basilisk. This creature moves beneath the snow, its scales as clear as frozen glass. Victor Crumb once wrote, "To look for its eyes is to invite death." The team marks its trail with blue runes that shimmer against the drifts. When an ice basilisk is found, it is not killed, it is observed. Notes are etched onto parchment that must be kept enchanted to resist the cold. Galina Morozova insists every student understand that observation is braver than slaughter. In 1979, Marta Drakov helped document the basilisk's molting. She held one of the discarded scales, and the frost burned her palm. She kept the scar as proof of her lesson. Just as feared are the polar infernals. These spectres wear shapes stolen from the minds of those who see them. They radiate a cold so pure it can stop a heart in moments. It takes 3 professors to bind one safely for study. Anya Volkov faced an infernal in her 5th year. She said later, "It showed me my mother's face, but the eyes were empty." When the lesson ended, she did not sleep for 3 nights. No one blamed her. The black shrikes are studied in the old watchtower. These winged creatures are blind but track magic by taste alone. Their cries can shatter unprotected wards. A shrike's egg is worth a fortune on the black market, but Durmstrang forbids any sale. Professor Ivar Mollen leads the Shrike research. He wears thick iron charms around his throat to protect his voice from their calls. Every student who studies under him must sign an oath never to reveal the Shrike roost's location. Once a year, a live demonstration is held. The Shrike is released into a sealed, warded chamber. Students must repel it using silent defensive spells. Those who hesitate risk fainting when the shriek begins. During these lessons, no one speaks of glory. The goal is survival. Caspar Blum once said, "A wizard who cannot stand before a shrike is a wizard who cannot defend a village." His voice carried no judgment, only truth. Not all creatures are monstrous. The frost moths of the glacier caves are delicate things. Their wings shimmer with patterns that shift in moonlight. Yet even they carry danger. Their scales numb the skin, a defense against predators. Durmstrang students learn to handle them bare-handed, to prove they can master fear without armor. When the moths are returned to the dark, some linger on a wizard's sleeve as if recognizing kinship. In the southern courtyard, a preserved ice basilisk skeleton stands in a glass case. First years are brought to see it before their first expedition. They learn that respect is earned only by acknowledging what can kill you. No ministry official has ever been allowed full access to the research records. Durmstrang defends this secrecy fiercely. Galina Morozova says knowledge is not a gift to be squandered, it is a blade to be held with care. Some graduates take this training into their careers. Many become curse-breakers, hunters, or wardmasters. All remember the nights in the mountains, the black shrike's cry echoing in their bones. The studies are voluntary, but few refuse. Even those who fear the creatures feel the pull of their mystery. To face them is to stand in the oldest tradition of the school. Durmstrang does not promise safety. It promises understanding. In that promise, some find their purpose, and some find the limit of their courage. Number 22, Attitude toward Blood Traditions. Inside Durmstrang, the question of blood is a quiet war. Officially, the school does not accept Muggle-born students. The rule is written into the charter Nerida Volchanova signed herself. For generations, no headmaster has dared to erase that line. But in the corridors, opinions are shifting. Some professors whisper that this tradition is a weakness disguised as pride. Professor Ivar Mollen has said excellence cares nothing for blood. He has never denied saying it, though it cost him the trust of many old families. Among the students, the debate is even sharper. Marta Drakov once argued in the Great Hall that the ban was cowardice. She stood before the assembled houses, her voice steady, as she called the policy a relic that shames us. That night, her name was scratched onto the wall of the old dueling hall, half in respect, half in threat. Every winter, rumors spread of secret gatherings in the library. They call it the Silent Circle. By lantern light, a handful of students meet to discuss what Durmstrang could become if it broke free of its own fear. No one has proven these meetings exist, but Galina Morozova has warned, if you seek revolution, know the price. Some say the Silent Circle keeps a list of Muggle-borns across Europe, young witches and wizards who might one day be invited if the walls ever came down. Whether that is hope or heresy depends on who you ask. Not all teachers oppose change. Eleonora Voss has quietly offered to sponsor any student willing to petition for reform. She tells them tradition must prove itself or die. She does not say this in public. Even courage has its limits here. Other professors remain unmovable. When asked if Durmstrang would ever accept a Muggle-born, Professor Karkaroff once spat on the floor. "We are not Hogwarts," he said. "We do not need to pretend." His words echoed through the hall like a curse. Some families still send their children here precisely because of the ban. To them, it is a guarantee that old bloodlines will not be diluted. They wear that prejudice as proudly as the red cloaks. But the youngest students arrive with different questions. They have read of Hermione Granger and others who proved that heritage is no measure of worth. Some wonder if the walls around Durmstrang's heart are beginning to crack. The library holds a book called The Record of Blood. Every student's lineage is listed in it, traced back 5 generations. To some, this is a mark of honor. To others, it is a chain. When Anya Volkov earned her silver braid, she refused to let the headmaster read her ancestry aloud. She said, "My skill is my lineage." That defiance was never forgotten. Graduates have begun to question whether the school can survive in isolation. Caspar Blum once wrote, "A fortress that locks every door will one day find itself empty." His words are copied in hidden notes passed between students. During the Festival of Thor, when lanterns melt into the lake, some say they feel the old certainties dissolving too. No one speaks of it openly, but no one denies the feeling. Even among the conservative houses there is unease. They fear that if Durmstrang does not evolve, it will be left behind while the world moves on. But fear alone does not change tradition. The headmistress has never declared her stance. Galina Morozova listens to every petition with the same unreadable expression. She has told her staff, change will come when it is earned, not when it is demanded. Some nights, students stand at the runestone of Thren and wonder if the old curses carved there include this one, that the school can never let go of its past. The question is not if Durmstrang will change, but when, and whether that change will come in triumph or in collapse. Until then, the silent circle meets in the shadows. The record of blood remains locked, and every student must decide for themselves which legacy they will honor. Number 23, Legends of School Curses. In the wind-swept northern reaches of Europe, hidden beyond towering peaks and forests thick with perpetual frost, Durmstrang Institute has stood in grim defiance of time itself. Ancient chronicles preserved in brittle, leather-bound tomes speak of a place not only dedicated to the advanced study of magic, but also bound by a secret darkness. These texts, tucked away in the restricted section of the library, whisper that Durmstrang has never been merely school. It is a vessel of old powers bearing the scars of curses woven into its very stones. When Professor Henrik Rasker assumed the post of headmaster in 1852, he was the first in centuries to openly propose the admission of Muggle-born students. His tenure ended in a manner so inexplicable that the surviving records describe it simply as the unravelling, a phrase that alone conveys the dread still attached to his name. Those who study the school's history recall the testimony of a single student, Anya Krupke, who wrote in her diary that she saw Rasker on the battlements the night before he disappeared. He held a staff of yew capped in runes of protection, muttering incantations that failed to banish the chill pressing in around him. The next morning, his chambers were found empty, the hearth still crackling with blue fire that no spell could extinguish. Only a single line had been scorched into the oak panelling beside his writing desk. He who breaks the old covenant shall be claimed by the stones themselves. To this day, no. One has been able to trace the origin of this sentence, but many suspect it is tied to the founding rites performed by Nerida Vulcanova, Durmstrang's first headmistress. Vulcanova was renowned for her mastery of defensive enchantments and her conviction that the purity of wizard blood must be maintained. Her philosophies were etched into the school's bylaws, a codex sealed with wax, embossed by a serpent devouring its own tail. It was Vulcanova, legends insist, who pronounced the curse that any head who dared open Durmstrang's gates to Muggle-borns would forfeit not just their office, but their life force. The earliest references to this imprecation are found in the memoirs of a Bulgarian enchanter, Stoyan Dobrovich, who claimed that Vulcanova performed the ritual beneath the main hall, carving runes of exclusion into the bedrock. May their bones be dust and their name be silence, she is said to have sworn. Even today, many believe this is why Rasker's body was never recovered. Over the centuries, stories of similar fates have circulated among students. One of the most oft-repeated involves Professor Alrik Benson, an instructor of magical theory who in 1923 convened a secret assembly of staff to propose revisions to the admissions charter. Benson's contemporaries described him as a man of gentle temperament, convinced that Durmstrang's isolation was a needless cruelty. He vanished during a routine inspection of the dungeons, his lantern later found shattered beside a set of stairs that led nowhere. The incident was dismissed as an accident, but an unsigned note was discovered pinned to the dungeon door in spidery ink. Tradition is the shield, desecration is the pit. Among the current students, these tales are not just campfire stories, but living reminders of what it costs to question Durmstrang's legacy. A former pupil, Victor Krum, who rose to prominence as a seeker for the Bulgarian national Quidditch team, once remarked in an interview, "You feel the past watching you in every corridor. Even when you think you are alone, you are not." Though Krum never publicly endorsed the most sinister rumors, many have speculated that his abrupt departure following the Tri-Wizard tournament was partly influenced by the oppressive atmosphere bred by these lingering fears. It is no accident that Durmstrang's reputation for dark arts instruction persists. The faculty never fully rejected Vulcanova's doctrines. Some of the most unsettling legends describe how the castle itself reacts when its old compact is threatened. One student, Greta Fenn, chronicled in a contraband journal that her roommate, Leda Novak, claimed to see entire corridors shift and rearrange themselves after Benson's disappearance. She wrote, "We went to the potions cellar and the walls began to sigh as if they were alive. Leda said she heard someone call her name from the stone." While such accounts might be dismissed as hysteria, enough independent testimonies exist to convince even skeptical historians that Durmstrang's architecture possesses an unsettling sentience, or at least an enchantment that mimics it. A single passage in the Essential Guide to European Wizarding Institutions alludes to a collective understanding among Durmstrang's governors that the school can never truly be reformed. Durmstrang stands apart, the book states. It is not a place that welcomes change lightly. Those who try to alter its compact have seldom prospered. The phrase is so often quoted that it has become a grim proverb among the seventh-year students, who are known to mutter it when fresh rumors arise about yet another professor testing the old boundaries. Indeed, Durmstrang's forbidding customs serve a purpose beyond mere elitism. For centuries, it has been a refuge for families who believe wizardry must be preserved in its most unadulterated form. Many parents still cite the tragedies of Rasker and Benson as proof that the school's traditions must remain inviolate. Even visiting dignitaries are warned never to inquire too closely about the admissions process. To do so is to invite suspicion, or worse, to wake the curse said to slumber beneath the flagstones of the Great Hall. Over the years, the Ministry of Magic has received numerous complaints from relatives of the vanished, but no official investigation has ever been sanctioned. One must assume this is partly because no one dares to be responsible for unleashing what Vulcanova bound so long ago. Scholars have occasionally suggested that her curse is anchored to a vast rune array hidden under the northern tower, though no one has confirmed this theory. When asked whether he would ever attempt to verify it, historian Basil Thrum simply replied, "I have no intention of disturbing an agreement made with powers I do not understand." What lends these stories their enduring power is the way they intersect with observable fact. In the year 1965, an anonymous letter was smuggled out of Durmstrang and published in the Daily Prophet. It recounted that 3 professors, Petra Radeva, Milos Dragan, and Leonid Feld, had formed a coalition to advocate for Muggle-born admission. Within a month, Dragan fell from a parapet during a blizzard, Feld collapsed in the library of sudden heart failure, and Radeva was discovered in a trance so profound she never awoke. The official statement attributed each demise to natural causes or misadventure. Still, to this day, no credible witness has challenged the letter's assertion that their deaths were linked. The letter concluded with a single sentence that has passed into legend: when you open the door, the darkness remembers. No teacher now speaks openly of revising Durmstrang's statutes. Even the most progressive instructors quickly learn to adopt a tone of respect when referring to the founders. It is said that in staff meetings the name Raska is never spoken without a brief pause, as if the walls themselves might be listening. During annual commemorations of the school's founding, a torch is lit on the main dais, but older faculty ensure no one lingers too long in the hall after the ceremony. Too many unexplained shadows have been glimpsed there when the torches burn low. One can hardly blame those who believe that Vulcanova's malediction remains intact. In every generation there has been at least one soul ambitious or reckless enough to test it. Each time the result has been the same: a swift, unaccountable calamity. And each time the survivors remind one another that Durmstrang was never built to be a sanctuary for all wizard kind. It was constructed as a fortress, a bulwark against dilution, and perhaps as a monument to an older, darker ethos. Even the castle's motto, Fortitudo in Puritate, has an unsettling resonance once one has heard these tales. Strength in purity. What seems at first a declaration of pride becomes a warning. The strength in question does not always confine itself to the living. It pulses through the walls and the frozen earth beneath the foundations, waiting for any fool brave enough to imagine the old covenant can be broken without cost. Number 24. Role of nature elements in teaching. Durmstrang Institute, shrouded in perpetual snow and legend, has long intrigued scholars and witches alike with its uncompromising philosophy that nature itself is the greatest teacher. The harsh landscapes around the fortress were not simply a backdrop, but an active force that shaped every lesson and every student. Where Hogwarts might have offered warm hearths and greenhouses, Durmstrang demanded resilience. From the first year, young witches and wizards were led out to the frozen shores of Lake Karasov, its surface crusted with ice so thick it could bear the weight of a dozen giants. The instructors, robed in wolf pelts, ordered students to remove their gloves and lay their palms against the ancient ice, feeling the cold sink deep into their bones until they learned to call upon their own inner warmth. This early lesson, though it sounded cruel, was meant to awaken the instinct that magic is a dialogue with the world, not merely a trick performed within a classroom. Even Victor Krum, the celebrated seeker and Durmstrang's most famous alumnus, recalled in his later interviews how the winter storms were more merciless than any Quidditch match. He described the exercises where students had to conjure protective wards while hurricane-force winds ripped across the cliffs. A single misstep could send a young wizard sliding dangerously close to the jagged rocks below. Yet in that terror, they discovered the core of elemental mastery, the understanding that control came not from domination, but from recognition. The wind was alive, the ice was aware, and only through respect could one gain their cooperation. "You do not break the storm," Krum once wrote in a letter to the Daily Prophet. "You ask it to carry you." Durmstrang's curriculum demanded that all fifth-year students complete the Rite of the Northern Lights, a week-long expedition into the upper plateaus where the aurora blazed like a river of ghosts. During this ordeal, each student was expected to craft a personal enchantment that wove their own magic into the moving sky. One such student, Ivana Kovalenko, composed an incantation that caused the lights to shimmer into the shape of a great owl, a symbol of wisdom that guided her party home through blinding snow. She later credited this survival to her professor Oleg Yaroshenko, who believed that a wizard's bond with nature must be tested in real danger. Her spell work was recorded in the school's archives, noted for its unique blending of weather magic and rune casting. The ice caverns beneath the southern slope of the mountain served as a classroom for lessons in water conjuration. With lanterns flickering against walls of translucent blue, students learned to draw up liquid from frozen stone, a skill critical if one was stranded without provisions. It was said that headmistress Ekaterina Polyakova had once survived 3 weeks alone in those caves after an avalanche sealed her inside. Her journals, excerpts of which appeared in Magical Methods Quarterly, told how she discovered a stream hidden beneath the thickest shelf of ice. She carved her wand into the fissure and whispered a summoning charm so precise that the water seeped upward without shattering the fragile walls. Her story became a cautionary tale and an inspiration. Mastery over nature required humility and absolute focus. Unlike other schools that confined elemental studies to theory, Durmstrang insisted upon practice, no matter the conditions. During the winter term, when the sun barely climbed above the horizon, students gathered on the frozen parade grounds to rehearse fire charms. Flames sputtered against the wind, often extinguished before they could warm frozen fingers. But through failure, the students learned the truth that magic was not a matter of comfort, but of survival. It was said that in the year 1982, a blizzard so severe it buried the walls in drifts also became the ultimate examination. Instructors watched from sheltered galleries as pupils, nearly blind in the swirling snow, located each other by the faint glimmer of bluebell flames hovering in the darkness. This exercise saved several lives later, when those same students went on to become auras patrolling the Siberian wastes. Durmstrang's respect for the elements was also evident in their discipline. A student caught misusing elemental charms, summoning wind to harass a classmate or melting locks in the dormitory, faced punishment that itself involved the natural world. One punishment, detailed in a report by Inspector Ludmila Zaitseva, required the culprit to spend an entire night standing waist-deep in the shallows of Lake Karasov, forced to maintain a warming charm without respite. Few ever repeated their mistakes. The severity of such consequences instilled an unshakable reverence for the balance of power and responsibility. At Durmstrang, the tradition of the Winter Solstice Challenge was perhaps the clearest symbol of their elemental philosophy. Students were divided into pairs and sent to opposite sides of the White Valley, armed only with a compass, a length of enchanted rope, and their wands. They had until dawn to navigate their way across ice fields and snow bridges while collecting tokens hidden in the landscape. The tokens themselves were imbued with elemental wards. Some would burst into flames, others crack the ice beneath incautious feet. In the year 1995, Anastas Petrov and Mila Dragunova set a record by collecting 12 tokens before sunrise. Their journals described how they nearly fell into a crevasse when Mila's fire ward cracked the ice, but Anastas managed to transfigure the falling snow into a solid platform just long enough to save them both. Legends tell of an even older rite, the Whispering Gale, taught only to the most promising students. The ritual required them to climb the Iron Peaks alone and spend 3 nights listening to the wind until they could hear the voices of the mountain spirits. Some claimed this was superstition, but Victor Crumb himself hinted that he had completed the Whispering Gale before the Triwizard Tournament. He spoke obliquely of a dream in which the wind spoke his true name, granting him clarity and strength. Whether myth or truth, such stories reinforced Durmstrang's reputation for forging wizards whose power came as much from the land as from the wand. While Hogwarts prized the art of transfiguration and Beauxbaton celebrated charms of refinement, Durmstrang saw little value in gentler pursuits. Its instructors argued that a wizard unable to draw power from the raw world was merely a conjurer of parlor tricks. Professor Sergei Baranov was especially known for declaring, "The earth is your ally or your grave." His lectures, preserved in the school's library, included diagrams showing how to channel ley line energy through the soles of one's boots during an avalanche. According to surviving copies of his notes, he believed the bond with the elements could extend a wizard's life and enhance endurance beyond any potion. For many Durmstrang graduates, these lessons carried into their careers. Helena Volkova, a famed curse breaker, attributed her survival in the flooded catacombs beneath Prague to the water mastery drilled into her as a child. She later published an account describing how she conjured a vortex to clear debris, even while freezing currents threatened to drag her under. She wrote that every incantation she cast was accompanied by a memory of the cold, and that memory was her strength. Her story is still required reading for Durmstrang apprentices in the field of magical archaeology. In rare cases, elemental training became a form of healing. During the winter of 1998, after the Second Wizarding War had left many families shattered, Durmstrang opened its gates to a small number of orphaned children. Among them was Alexei Sidorov, who had witnessed the destruction of his village. The headmistress believed that teaching him to summon light in the darkness of the polar night might help rebuild his spirit. A year later, Alexei became known across the North Sea for inventing a variation of the Lumos charm that burned like a miniature sun, able to cut through any blizzard. His achievements were cited by the European Journal of Magical Education as proof that the elements, when treated as companions, could heal even the deepest wounds. No student left Durmstrang unchanged. Even the castle itself seemed woven of ice and iron, its halls filled with gusts of wind that crept under doors and reminded everyone that no wall could fully bar nature's will. The great stone arches leading to the courtyard were etched with runes invoking earth and sky, and above the entrance was carved the school's oldest maxim: from the world, strength; to the world, respect. Those words, repeated in nearly every account from former students, encapsulated the purpose behind the institution's demanding curriculum. No matter how brutal the lessons, they were always in service of a single goal: to produce witches and wizards who could stand unshaken before any storm.